To drug lords, these criminals terrorized the world but ultimately faced justice. Today, we're counting down 10 of the worst criminals who went to prison. Ted Bundy, one of America's most notorious serial killers, murdered more than 30 women across the United States. Bundy was captured, escaped twice, but was ultimately sentenced to death in 1979 and executed in 1989. John Wayne Gacy, also known as the Killer Clown, was convicted of sexually assaulting and murdering at least 33 young men. He buried most of his victims in the crawl space of his house. Gacy was arrested in 1978 and executed in 1994. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman led the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful and violent drug cartels in the world. After multiple prison escapes, El Chapo was captured and extradited to the U.S. in 2017, where he's currently serving a life sentence. Jeffrey Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, was responsible for the horrific murders of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Dahmer was arrested in 1991 and sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms. He was killed by a fellow inmate in 1994. Aileen Wong, a rare female serial killer, murdered 7 men between 1989 and 1990 while working as a prostitute. She claimed self-defense, but was sentenced to death in 1992 and executed in 2002. Richard Ramirez terrorized Los Angeles in the mid-1980s, committing a series of home invasions, murders, and sexual assaults. Nicknamed the Night Stalker, he was captured in 1985 and sentenced to death. He died in prison in 2013. Charles Manson, leader of the Manson family, orchestrated the murders of actress Sharon Tate and others in 1969. Though Manson himself didn't commit the killings, he was sentenced to life in prison for his role in the murders and died in 2017. Robert Hansen, known as the Butcher Baker, was an Alaskan serial killer who abducted women, then hunted them in the wilderness. He was convicted in 1984 of 17 murders and sentenced to 461 years in prison, where he died in 2014. Bernie Madoff ran the largest Ponzi scheme in history, defrauding investors out of nearly $65 billion. His massive financial fraud landed him a 150-year prison sentence in 2009. Madoff died in prison in 2021. Ronnie and Reggie Kray were notorious British gangsters who ruled London's East End in the 1960s. Through their gang, The Firm, the twins were involved in murder, armed robbery, and protection rackets. Arrested in 1968, they were sentenced to life imprisonment. Reggie died in 2000, while Ronnie passed away in 1995. These criminals terrorized countless people, but in the end, justice prevailed. What other infamous criminals should we cover? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more chilling stories.